All right, welcome back to the Walking with Jesus series. This is a series of videos where you can listen to this as you go on a walk. As you go on a walk, I want you to listen to this and meditate upon the verses and the words that you hear coming out of this video. And as you walk physically, as you listen to this video, so will you be able to walk spiritually with Jesus as you meditate on this in your walk. Okay, so this is called the undesirables. All right, we're walking with the undesirables. Each video has a title. Walking with Jesus is a series. In this series, we're looking at walking with the undesirables. Okay, so walking with the undesirables. When I found out my third daughter would have Down syndrome, I could remember wanting to cry. I felt a sense of anxiety as thoughts ran through my mind, and I said, why would God do this to me? Why would God give me a child with Down syndrome? My whole life is going to change for the worse. If God really does have a plan for my life, why would he give me a child that would ruin those plans? I can remember praying and asking God to make her not have Down syndrome. I told God that if he would allow her to be born without Down syndrome, I would do more work for those that have it in his name. How selfish, naive, and ignorant of me to think that way, to feel that way, to bring that type of prayer before God. Thank God that as a father, he does treat us like little children and still have compassion for us, even when we may approach him the wrong way. Later that day, I went to the post office and two major things happened to me. First, for the first time, I've noticed so many other people around me in the public who had Down syndrome. And I heard the Holy Spirit say to me, what if she still has Down syndrome, Barrett? Does this mean that you won't help those in need that have Down syndrome? Does this mean that you won't have a heart for those other people? It was in that moment that I realized how selfish I was and how I didn't have my heart correct towards what society would deem as the undesirables. The second thing that happened is as I stood in the post office, I saw a lady on the phone complaining about how the undesirable postal workers were so slow and they needed to hurry up because she needed to mail something to get this expensive puppy that she just purchased. At the same time this was happening, I saw a man who was being humble. He was mailing a package for the second time because it had gotten returned from the first time that he mailed it. The package was for a family member who was dying and who needed the supplies that he was sending. He was in an undesirable situation, but I could tell that he had a peace that surpassed understanding. You see, the amazing thing about Jesus is Jesus was born in an undesirable situation. And when Jesus was born, the angels told it to the undesirable people of the day, who were the shepherds. Jesus was a king who was being sought to be killed by another king, another undesirable situation. He came from the loins of King David. King David was not as desirable as his brothers. The Bible even tells us that his father left him in the field with the sheep when the prophet Samuel came. Imagine that. Jesse left the undesirable child, David, in the field with the sheep shoveling poop. And who did God choose? The undesirable one. Who did Jesus eat with? Who did Jesus speak with? Who did Jesus teach with? Are they not all undesirable in some form or fashion? God chose the undesirable brother to be king. Jesus chose the undesirable people to become heirs. Jesus died and rose again for the undesirable prostitutes, the undesirable thieves, and the corrupt tax collectors. Jesus died an undesirable death and asked for the cup to pass from him. God chose Moses to speak for him, a man with an undesirable lisp. God chose an undesirable tax collector named Matthew to be a disciple. God chose a murderer named Saul and converted him for his glory. None of the Christian brethren desired Paul and his company, but he went on to do many great things for God's kingdom. I love my Atana. That's her name. She is perfect. She is the spice that our family needed to keep things interesting. And I have a heart for people in a way that I never did, all because I was in an undesirable situation with what I thought was an undesirable baby. God has a way of taking things, people, and situations that we think are bad and turning them into the greatest gift. Christ's most undesirable death became our greatest gift, the greatest gift of our life. We serve a God that turns the undesirable into the desirable. As you walk with Jesus today, consider the undesirable situations, the undesirable people in your life that make you feel every other emotion except for love, and meditate upon these verses. Genesis chapter 50, verse 20. But as for you, ye thought evil against me, but God meant it unto good, to bring it to pass, as it is this day, to save much people alive. Joseph was in an undesirable situation. That undesirable situation led to Egypt being saved and God getting the glory and restitution for his family. Come on now, man. Psalms chapter 118, verses 22 through 23. The stone which the builders refuse is become the headstone of the corner. This is the Lord's doing. It is marvelous in our eyes. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 4. The Lord hath made all things for himself, yeah, even the wicked for the day of evil. All right, hold on. See these flies coming around, man, they hating. All right, 1 Corinthians chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. For ye see your calling, brethren, how that not many wise men after the flesh, not many mighty, not many noble are called. God is saying right here, man, look around. I'm not calling the strong. I'm not calling the rich. I'm not calling the beautiful. I'm not calling the pretty. I'm not calling the wealthy. I'm not calling the smart. Man, come on now. But God had chosen the foolish things of this world to confound the wise. And God had chosen the weak things of this world to confound the things which are meaty or which are mighty, and base things of the world. And things which are despised hath God chosen. Yeah. And the things which are not, to bring to naught the things that are. Man, God is saying, look, just like when I went and I chose David, the undesirable person, because he was a man after my own heart, that's how God works. That's exactly how God works. He doesn't call the equipped, but he always equips the call. So whatever you're dealing with, whatever undesirable situation you got going on in your life, remember, that's how God works, man. That's how God works. If everything was so easy, you wouldn't come to God. You wouldn't turn to God. You wouldn't call upon God and allow him to do and be God in your life where he would get the glory. Everything that is going on in our life is for God to get the glory, for God to show us his love, for God to show us his sovereignty. For you and I were designed for one purpose and one purpose only. That is to love God with all our heart, with all our mind, with all our strength, and with all our soul, and to serve him. All right, I'm out. Hey, that's Walking with Jesus, Walking with the Undesirables. I see y'all on the next one.